Good morning, Warriors. This is Vigor Warriors 2, and we are talking about several topics this morning. I'm going to end up probably doing a couple different videos this morning because we had a great response yesterday. Once again, this is Vigor Warriors 2, and this is March 30th, I believe, 2022. And hope you guys are having a great day. Hope everything's going well. Hope that things are progressing towards your goals and moving ahead. But we had a lot of great questions and comments the last like 24 hours, so I'm going to try to get to a couple of them. Young Justice had a question on 5 tips of focusing, and so I'm going to go ahead and kind of talk about that in this video. Then Shubham Sharma also had a nice question about mass and building muscle while you're on a retention, and why do you feel heavier or eat less and things like that. And then I also had a question from Sunny Day, and so thank you, Sunny Day, as well. A shout out to you. And focusing on toxic family members, which we've all had some members in our family that are negative and those type of things. So I'll try to get to that one. I'll probably get to that one tomorrow. But if I get a chance later tonight, I'll probably do a third one if I can. So let's go ahead and focus today on our idea of focus and look at what Young Justice is saying. And so one of the great benefits of your journey is certainly having greater focus. Now, I've seen this in my case. I used to be a lot of, scattered all over the place, and it was hard to multitask and do a lot of things. And I wish I was on this back when I was in positions that, like vice president positions and dean positions, things like that. I wish I had more. I wish I were on this at that point. But I think God gives a reason for all this, and there is a purpose, and I think I wasn't ready for any of this until now. And so I think that makes a difference. But yes, I think focus is a huge issue. I think a lot of times there's so many distractions, and I think our distractions lead to temptation as well. And because of that, it's very difficult to kind of stay on your track and stay on your journey because you have so many things pulling you in different roads and different ways to go. So Young Justice is asking for 5 tips here to kind of have you focus better. So I was thinking about this for a while, so let me go ahead and kind of give you my 5 suggestions to be able to focus on this. So the first thing that's important is having the right mindset. So the right mindset means is that you are a goal-setting person. Now, this may sound kind of strange, Young Justice, but a lot of people don't have goals. A lot of people don't have a focus. They don't know where they're going to. And so a lot of people don't realize they have to have a focus. They just don't know how things happen, and they just don't want to think about how things happen. And so as a result of that, they just behave. They just act. I remember doing my dissertation on Skinner and Piaget and in an educational forum, and we talked about a lot of the ideas about trying to have stimulus and response, and a lot of people respond like that. They're not really thinking. They're not using that brain. I mean, we only use about 10% of the brain anyway, and so a lot of times people don't really focus on how to use that effectively and having some level of self-control. But the idea then is that you have to have the right mindset. You have to believe and think about that you need goals. You need to have some structure. Now, we always try to put things in order. This is part of our nature. But we don't always think about having goals. And so I think tip number 1, Young Justice, is you need to think about things differently. Think about having a plan, a set of goals to be able to focus on. And that's the key. The second tip is actually going ahead and setting up short and long-term goals. So setting up long and short-term goals, you need to be able to kind of understand what those are. What do you want? Do you want to make money? Do you want to make $1 million by next January? Do you want to have a girlfriend, a boyfriend? What is the plan that you have? What is the idea you want? And so goal seeking really is a key to focusing. And so the bottom line is that once you start having an idea of what you want, now all of a sudden everything around you tends to kind of move in that direction. Your thoughts move in that direction. I'll give you an example. So if you're thinking about making money, making $1 million, right? Well, when you walk down the street, your thoughts are going to be, can I catch these ideas out here about making money? You start thinking about things differently. You look at people differently. You look at whole situations differently. This is why the retention is so effective, because you're able to focus on the goals and stay away from focusing on all the images and the people and all the sex type of things out there. You're focusing on something achievable. I mean, whatever you focus on, you're going to get. And this is what the problem is with pornography and all these other types of things. The more you focus on those things, the more you're going to get those things. And that's the last thing you want. You want to focus on something else. And so when you focus on your goal, I'd say a short-term goal, maybe 6-month goal, 1-year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year goal, you'll keep yourself in that pattern of always thinking of goals. I have 3 goals that I think about every night. I try to think about them. Now, some nights it's more difficult than others. The last few have been a little more difficult because you have other things going on, and it also depends on what you're eating before you go to bed, things like that. You have to kind of focus on making sure that those memories are positive, and you keep focusing on those 3 goals and those type of things in my case. And so those are the goals you have to kind of look at. So tip number 2, again, set up goals, short-term and long-term. Okay. Now, number 3, visualize those goals. So, Young Justice, when you're looking at something, look at visualizing how this looks when this is completed. And how is it going to look? So if you want to make a lot of money, you got to see yourself with the money. Once again, this focus will keep you in tune to what you're looking at and not all over the place, all other types of things. It's easy to get distracted. Our brains go all over the place, but keep them wired and focused to what you really want. And those type of things will come because you're always saying, now, I put my goals on note cards and I read them every morning. When I pray and I meditate, I read them every morning. And so what I do then is kind of go over them in my mind. So I then can go ahead and focus on them more. And so extreme focus means you're focusing on something you want to achieve. Now, doing this, my friends, is amazing, especially when you're on retention, because what you're doing is kind of blocking everything out. All these other things don't really matter because you're focusing on those goals you want to achieve. And you go through life like that. I know people are in their 90s who are having goals, and they continue having goals, okay? So visualize that goal. See yourself achieving that goal, completing that goal, planning around that goal, and staying on that goal. Okay? So that's number 3. Number 4, I would say, Young Justice, focus on, pay attention, put your attention at a certain period of time on your goals. So I would say there's 2 periods of time the quietest for most people. That's early in the morning and late at night. Those are the times that I sit down and meditate, and I listen and I focus on goals. Now, why do I say all these things about goals? Well, you have to kind of have built in your mind a lifestyle of achieving goals. Therefore, focus becomes a lot better. Once you focus on something, especially on retention, you're going to move in that direction no matter what. It's just a matter of time. You can call it deja vu, you can call it a lot of different things, but for instance, if you think of an object, eventually you'll see it, one way or the other. And sometimes you acquire it. I remember a collection of comic books, and I still collect comic books, and going over things and trying to figure out when I want to look at comic books. And there's certain comic books that I thought I would never find, and all of a sudden you find the books, right? And they just kind of appear out of magic. And the reason why they appear out of magic is because you're basically saying, something about, oh, I'm going to go ahead and focus on this, and I want this to happen, and it happens. Now, explaining that is not as easy as it happening, but it's happening. And so it kind of is proof in the pudding to kind of look at the idea, okay, if I'm going to put something out there, I know I'm going to achieve it. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of how. And so you keep going over your goals every day, but you do it in a spot where you can actually focus on it and look at that. So that's tip number 4. So tip number 4, again, Young Justice, is that you have to have a place and a time. I do it twice a day. It's up to you. I think as you start off, you can even take a lunch break if you're at work and do it a third time or at school. Just keep focusing. Now, I started off by many years ago writing out the goals over and over again. Just like you would in grammar school if you said, go to the board, I will not do this, I will not do this. It's almost like you're programming yourself to believe in your goals. You have to believe in your goals down deep before you can actually achieve them. So if you don't believe them, your body's not going to react to what you're thinking. So that's step number 4. And the last step that I would recommend is I would recommend you having a plan, a strategy to deal with negative thoughts. And we'll talk about this when it comes to Sunny Days, question about toxic family and people around you. You have to focus on eliminating clutter in your life. And that means staying away as much as possible. Now, once your family member, we can talk about that a little bit in a different light, because you just can't get rid of your family member, of course. But the thing is that you have to kind of stay away from negative thoughts, negative ideas. You have to kind of focus on things that are going to put you in the right direction. This is why when you put together goals, you're focusing on something that is positive. You're focusing on things that are going to move you to that goal. Don't waste time on things that are not going to move you to the goal. And that's an easy thing to do. I mean, it's easy thing to say, it's a hard thing to do. Because a lot of people will try to get in your way. Other things will try to command your attention. And you see this with people around you all the time. Now, I go back to this only because you go back to retention again. And we're talking about the fact that the attention from the ladies are going to be highly increased. But that's when you have to become stronger and stay away more and focus on the goals. Now, I'm not talking about that one individual that you're with, whether you're married, whether you're seeing someone seriously, things like that. That's your decision how to handle that kind of situation. That's all up to you guys. But what I'm saying is that just remember the whole idea here. The more you're on retention, the more your focus should be on goals and things you can do and things that you want to do to help the world than focusing on what 99% of men do, especially the men, focus on, and that's women and pornography and things like that, pictures. Now, this is why I say we're part of the 1% club, hoping moving to 2% pretty soon. But the 1% club focusing on not thinking that way. We're thinking in a different way. And this used to be a lot more common than it is now. But it's certainly not very common right now. A lot of people don't think that way, and they struggle with the whole idea of, oh, you're not really thinking about women, you're not thinking about girls, you're thinking really about achieving things. Oh man, you are weird. You are a weird type person, right? You're really weird. But I grew up in a time when that wasn't so weird. And actually people really accepted that. And I do sense it more. And I talk to a lot of teenage, because I help teach a high school class and high school students. And I talk with them more about it, and they bring these type of issues up. And there is more of a curiosity and more of an understanding and idea about celibacy now than it used to be. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I think that everything goes back and forth in life, and sometimes it becomes, very open, then it becomes very closed. And I think that you see a change in that a lot. But I think when you see something like this, you have to kind of say, okay, maybe things are changing for the better. And going back to some of those type of things, because you look at the end result of that, you go back to all these empires collapsing, and they collapsed because they collapsed from within. Now, hopefully our society will not collapse, and all of a sudden we're going to start new, and a whole new society will take over. But in reality, we have lived a lot longer in longevity than many dynasties have lived. And eventually people succumb to their own weight of lascivious behaviors and all kinds of sinful type behaviors. And this is why the Bible to me is not only a very strong connection to God, but also a very practical type of thing, because you get to the point where you realize all the stories that are in there are stories that are happening now, just different names, different people. So anyway, but going back, Young Justice, I hope I helped. These are the 5 types of things that are important. Let's go back over them again. Focusing. The first thing to do is have the right attitude about goals and focusing. And that means making sure you understand that you got to have goals. You got to have some plan, some idea in your mind of what you want to do. That's the first thing. Second thing then is develop those long-term goals, having them written out, if you have to, in your mind as you're talking about this, focusing on short-term goals, long-term goals. Number 3 is to visualize those goals, right? Visualize how you can actually go ahead and kind of see what's happening there, and doing that one then, okay? And then step 4 is you're focusing on trying to, you're honing your focusing in, and you're trying to look at things in a way where you're going to keep a time in the morning and night maybe, and focusing on these goals. Set a time specifically to do that. And number 5, going ahead and looking at how to handle distractions. I always take a couple deep breaths, and I go back and refocus on my intent and shift back. But you got to just keep doing that, because as times you're gonna be shifted away. And more times than not, you're gonna be away from the ideas, and you gotta go back to the ideas and talk about them more. All right, so Young Justice, I hope this helps, my friend. You guys have a great day. I'll probably do another one soon on Shamham's question about weight, and we'll talk soon. God bless you guys. Battle on.